Welcome to a brand new episode of Law and Batting Order. I'm your host, Tony Oyakostas. Before I kick off today's episode, I wanted to wish all of you a very happy and prosperous 2013. Here are some quick hits from the past 2 weeks. Have you heard the joke about Gary Bettman and the members of the NHLPA walking into a bar and sitting there for over 100 days to negotiate a new collective bargaining agreement? Well, I'm kidding. No such joke exists, but CBA negotiations finally concluded after 113 days of no hockey. This past Sunday, the NHL and NHLPA agreed on the new CBA that will last until 2021. The new shortened season is slated to be around 50 games, but hockey fans are thrilled about this new deal. A little later in today's episode, I'll discuss more information regarding the NHL lockout and the terms of the new NHL collective bargaining agreement. NFL playoffs are here and the matchups are shaping very well so far. Last week, the wildcard weekend was highlighted by wins for the Seahawks, Ravens, Packers, and Texans. At the time this episode was filmed, the divisional playoffs will begin, with the Ravens facing the Broncos, the Packers against the 49ers, the Seahawks facing Matty Ice and hot Atlanta, and the Texans taking on Tom Brady and the Patriots. Something unusual happened this week in baseball. For the first time since 1996, no players were inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. This year's ballot contained Craig Biggio, Mike Piazza, Barry Bonds, Sammy Sosa, and Roger Clemens, among others. But because this year's class had numerous candidates suspected of using steroids during their careers, this deterred the Baseball Writers Association of America voters from voting over 75% for one single candidate, which is the percentage needed to be elected into Cooperstown. Quite ironically, Major League Baseball and the NHLPA agreed on a new condition to their drug testing program. At the beginning of the 2013 season, players will be tested for HGH during the season at random and unannounced times. Commissioner Bud Selig said that he hopes these new tests will help Major League Baseball maintain a leadership stature in anti-doping efforts in the years ahead. Today's Order in the Court will be discussing the NHL lockout. As I mentioned earlier in Quick Hits, the NHL and NHLPA finally agreed on a brand new collective bargaining agreement that is expected to last until 2021. The lockout, which lasted for nearly 113 days, led to the cancellation of the NHL Winter Classic along with the cancellation of the NHL All-Star Game. Nevertheless, any hockey fan would rather take the return of an abbreviated season over no hockey whatsoever. In today's episode, I'll discuss the terms of the new collective bargaining agreement, and I'll spend some time talking about how the NHL Players Association could have pursued an antitrust lawsuit against the NHL. First, let's discuss the antitrust angle of the NHL lockout, because it almost seems certain that the NHLPA would have pursued a lawsuit against the NHL today if the new CBA was not agreed upon. To create some context, about a month ago, the NHLPA took the first steps to decertify their union in preparation of pursuing an antitrust lawsuit against the NHL under the Sherman Antitrust Act, Section 1. The Sherman Antitrust Act is an antitrust law that prohibits anti-competitive activity among persons and businesses. Section 1 is relevant for the purposes of this example because this section of the Sherman Antitrust Act relates to contracts and agreements with two or more people or entities. Here's the language of Section 1 of the Sherman Antitrust Act. Every contract, combination in the form of trust or otherwise, or conspiracy in restraint of trade or commerce among the several states or with foreign nations is declared to be illegal. This is not the first time we've seen a player union decertify in an attempt to pursue an antitrust lawsuit against a major league sports entity. As recent as 2011, there was the infamous Brady versus NFL case in which the NFL Players Association decertified their union in an attempt to pursue an antitrust lawsuit against the NFL, claiming that the NFL lockout of 2011 was illegal business practice under Section 1 of the Sherman Antitrust Act. However, the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals sided with the NFL and stated that the lockout was legitimate and not anti-competitive as per the Sherman Antitrust Act. The court argued that, as per the Norris-LaGuardia Act, which is another crucial body of law used in labor disputes, under the Norris-LaGuardia Act, the court held in Brady that it is deprived of power to issue an injunction prohibiting a party to a labor dispute from implementing a lockout of its employees. If we wanted to, we could compare the outcome of the Brady case to the potential outcome of the antitrust lawsuit between the decertified NHLPA and the NHL and state that a similar outcome would pan out for the hockey players. They too would most likely be unable to pursue an antitrust claim against the NHL because, like Brady, the federal court in this case would lack the jurisdiction to issue an injunction against the NHL for imposing a lockout. Nevertheless, this whole situation is moot because, thankfully, the NHL and NHLPA have reached the framework of their new CBA. I'll leave a link below this video that will take you to Sports Law 101's website enumerating the details of the brand new hockey CBA. But here are some of the key terms of the new collective bargaining agreement. The new agreement decreases player revenue sharing to 50% from 57%. Salary floor will start this season at $40 million and the cap will be at $70.4 million. And term limits for free agent players are set at a 7-year max. As mentioned, it took nearly 113 days to finalize these terms. This is the essence of collective bargaining. The NHL had its concerns, and so did the NHLPA. And while the road was rocky at times, what's most important is that a deal was struck that enables the league to have somewhat of a season and the players can head back to work. That's the show. Leave all your comments down below and be sure to visit Law and Batting Order at lawandbattingorder.com as well as on Facebook and Twitter. Take care, guys.